What is up, guys? You're listening to SportsBiz with Rashad. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back to the pod today. First, I just want to start off and say thank you all for listening and, just supporting me thus far on this journey. I believe this is episode 10 now, and I'm honestly just grateful for how far this has been able to come. All the different guests that have been on from all sorts of backgrounds, and today is no exception to that. Joining me is Sam Robertson, who is currently an assistant coach on the Barrie Jr Sharks of the Provincial Women's Hockey League in Ontario, Canada. Now, Sam also works as a small business advisor at Scotiabank, and he's going to come on here and just kind of talk about his experiences for getting to where he is today, and then also his bright goals for the future. Now, Sam actually reached out to me on Instagram and was the first person to ask me to come on the show, so I really appreciate that he did that. And here he is. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
Good, Rashad. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I want to just start off and get to know a little bit about you. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Currently, I'm a assistant coach for the Barrie Jr Sharks of the Provincial Women's Hockey League. That's the junior league that feeds into the CIS and the NCAA ranks for college hockey. Girls are about 16 to 18 years old. I also have a couple of side roles that I do as well. I'm a certified coach evaluator for the Ontario Minor Hockey Association through Barrie and area. Previously, I've coached the last 5 years with Barrie Minor Hockey Association. A couple years as head coach, a couple years as assistant to get me started. Won a couple championships there, so built up a pretty good resume in minor hockey, and taking my next step to junior, and it's been pretty exciting so far. The year, obviously, of course, isn't going how anybody planned, but we're making the best of it.
For sure, everyone's having some setbacks, but sounds like you really worked your way up the ranks there, starting from the bottom and slowly getting to where you want to be. That kind of transitions to the next question, which is, how did your journey begin in hockey?
Well, it kind of began twice, really. When I was in high school, I started working a job at a private rink here in town, and I did some classes, pushing pucks around and helping out with the little guys in first time hockey programs and learn to play and learn to skate, those type of things.
Yeah.
And I took a shine to it. It was interesting. I mean, the hours weren't great. Being a high schooler, having to get up at 6 in the morning to go to the rink on a Saturday is not ideal, but I enjoyed that a little bit. And then as my playing career kind of winded down, I went on a little bit of a hiatus, and a couple years later after school, I'd kind of finished up for me. Some opportunity kind of slowly presented itself. I was working a couple part-time jobs, and had a lot of free time during the day and at night. So I got recommended to go out and help a team. So I went out one day, and I met the coach, and I'll get into him a little bit because he's had a big part of my coaching career, as it sits right now. And I just went out to a couple of practices, whenever I could, and it was good. I started to find an enjoyment again in the game, and being at the rink and around a team. And then you come to April, May, the teams are starting to turn over to the new year, and tryouts are coming, and I'm just sitting on my couch in my living room, and I get a phone call, and it's the head coach of the team I was helping, and he says, "Hey, you want to be an assistant coach of the team this year and be on the bench and be a part of the staff." And I was kind of sitting there and trying to make a decision quick, but really just wanted to make sure I was doing the right one. And it was kind of more of a panic, like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, just to try and please everybody type deal. And the head coach of that team was Ed Morrow, who I coach with now with the Sharks. And for that to turn into what it's turned into is pretty special, I think. And he's been kind of like a hockey father to me. I owe him a great amount of thanks, and I'm pretty grateful for him to give me the opportunity. And he's brought me into a world that I'll probably never leave. So pretty thankful for him, and that's kind of how it started. And it's kind of flourished from there. So it's been pretty cool, and it's hopefully it keeps going.
For sure. Sounds like quite the journey you had there. Growing up, was hockey like your number one sport that you wanted to get into, or did you play other sports and have any others in mind?
Yeah, I mean, hockey was always my number one sport. I played all the school sports you could ever imagine in public school, and I took a little shine to football in high school, and I tried to take a stab at being a two sport athlete and going to school and take an opportunity that way. It didn't work out, but hockey was usually the number one sport. I mean, there's always ups and downs about the love and hate in the game, and I always circle back to hockey at the end of the day. Even when I'm playing competitive football, or I enjoy playing golf now, so that's something I've taken up as well in the summer. So, but life always kind of circled back to hockey, and it's been pretty good to me. So I'm pretty thankful to have it in my life too.
And would you say kind of playing hockey growing up has helped you in your position now as a coach?
I think so. There's a couple of instances when you get in a situation with, say, a player or a team. You're kind of stalemate. It's one of those things that coach will always look back to his playing times. If he has that experience to kind of relate to some sort of situation you went through. I had some good coaches when I was a kid. I still talk to some of them. So yeah, it's one of those things where you can kind of connect the dots and circle back there, and it helps you out down the road a little bit too.
For sure. And if I'm correct, you also work another job at the moment, right?
I do. I've had some experience working in sales. I used to work for a sports barrel company out of Toronto. I'm currently working for Scotiabank out of Barrie here, where I grew up and live still. Um, that kind of job has kind of resonated a couple of different trades for me. Mostly, sales tactics translate well for recruiting players. Obviously, a completely different segment, but that type of job has developed my skills, outside of the rink, in terms of building a team and other types of factors like that.
Yeah, and getting started, I've heard from a number of different people those transferable skills you learn in a business related job or in really any kind of job can help you with not only financially, but help you improve yourself within your own role, which is a big plus.
Yeah, I mean, starting hockey as a coach specifically, there's not a lot of money there, and being a sports guy, Rashad, I'm sure you're aware of that too. One of the things that and we can circle back to this a little bit later, is being in the sports world, it's about getting your foot in the door, and you have to pretty much do whatever it takes, and that's kind of the spot I'm at still. I think I'm knocking on the door, and I think an opportunity is soon gonna bring itself to the forefront for me, and I'm just gonna keep working until that happens. But yeah, like you said, it's that this type of industry, I went to school for stuff like this, so it was kind of a connection there. But the way that it's kind of sort of resonated with, developing some skills with regards to coaching, and having a career in the coaching world, it's developed my skills and outside the rink, which has been a big contributor to my success as well, I believe.
Yeah, and kind of on that note, what would you say your ultimate goals are in the game of hockey?
I mean, obviously, every coach, wants to go as far as they can. I mean, the NHL is there, and there's other leagues too that a lot of coaches have had great success in. And I speak to college level NCAA. I've always been a big fan of the NCAA, and even the CIS. Canadian College Hockey's picked up a lot of steam, and there's a lot of good hockey there as well. But for me, it's more about the journey, and I take a lot of pride in enjoying the ride, and just living in the moment type of thing. And
Right, right.
at the end of the day, the journey will stop at some point, and it'll all end. But I think it's all about just enjoying it, and living in the moment. And just as long as you're working and your head's down and your feet are still moving, then opportunities are going to present themselves. But yeah, I'm a big proponent of being in the moment, and living the journey as it is.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, just focus on the end goal, but also live in the moment and live and enjoy those little moments that get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, you look at successful coaches or successful people in the sports world. One big thing is every step's not always forward. An opportunity will present itself, or maybe it doesn't. And you have to sit back and take something that maybe you didn't think that was going to happen, and it's happened to me already in my short career. And I just kind of took it how it was, and I just kept working, and next thing you know, I was back on track and in a role that I wanted to be in. So it's one of those things where the car doesn't always move forward. Sometimes you got to put it in reverse, or you got to stay stalemate for whatever long and just kind of work your problems out, and eventually the car will start going again. And it's about staying patient and staying the course.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that there. So within hockey, I mean, you've done a bunch of coaching roles within men's hockey, but your current role with the Barrie Jr. Sharks is with the Provincial Women's Hockey League. So, what would you say are some key differences that you found coaching men's hockey versus women's hockey?
Well, I mean, I'm in a similar age group that I was previously with the last couple of years in my time with Barry Minor. So the age thing has kind of helped a little bit in terms of familiarity. In terms of the coaching, aspect of it, in terms of coaching women and compared to men, um, it's a different approach. The women are very receptive to what you're saying, and sometimes they're a little too receptive and too direct in how they take the information that you're providing. And what I mean by that is, you tell them to do something in a drill, they'll literally do exactly what you say. So you have to be a little bit more descriptive in what you want out of them, so to speak. But that's a good thing, and I'm still in the adapting stage of it. It's still early in the year, so I'm still learning a little bit. But I, as a coach for myself, I've had a lot of success in allowing my players to be creative in practice and have that free ability to make plays and do it as you see it, and not sort of stay stationary, so to speak. So that's kind of where my one hitch has been so far. But again, still in the adaptive stage. But the big thing is the communication of it, and how they receive your message. That's been the big obstacle. But one thing I'll say about the women's game is the girls are no slouch.
Yeah.
If you're a hockey fan, and you watch the games or at whatever level, the women should definitely be on your radar. And the professional game, you'll see a little now that it's been at the forefront, especially with the game, the pressure points of the sport right now with Hockey Diversity Alliance, and then of course the women's game as well is getting a lot of attention, which is fantastic to see. But yeah, it's something that a lot of hockey fans should not sleep on. The girls can flat out play, and they should they should be recognized for that.
Yeah, and I find this a very interesting topic. I think it comes up in every interview I do, but definitely women in sports, not only hockey, but in all sports, is something that a lot of people are trying to encourage and push, and a big debate between just salaries in women's sports compared to men's sports. But overall, I think women's sports are going to get a lot more attention in the future as they get more involved and as more integrated into each sport.
Yeah, I agree. Some sports are a little bit further ahead, I think, than hockey is, and that's not to say that the progress isn't similar, but it's great to see women getting the opportunities. You see the NFL. There's female referees that are making their debuts. There's coaches now,
Yeah.
and this is huge for sport. And hockey's going to get there at some point, I'm sure. We look at. I know your previous guest, Kiana Scott. I've had a chance to speak with her before, and she's got a bright future in hockey, and she's a hard worker. So that's a big one for our game. And like I said about the professional women's hockey, it's down to one league right now, but things are really turning and transforming for that. So there'll be some positives coming out of that. But it's really great to see the women getting an opportunity not only in hockey but across the board, and hopefully that can keep prospering for each sport.
For sure. And for those people who don't know, do you want to kind of just touch on what the Provincial Women's Hockey League is and how many teams there are, and kind of where women go from this league to their next steps?
Absolutely. I'll start with our program and just kind of lay out how our process works here in Barrie, and I'll touch on the league itself and sort of that next process coming out of the league. So here in Barrie, we coach the provincial women's team as well as the midget AA team. So that would be kind of like our farm team. So we develop our players from Bantam all the way up, and we try our best to keep our players local. Of course, opportunities to recruit better players from out of town arise, and we have a pretty good bunch of players from all areas of the province. But yeah, the Provincial Women's Hockey League, sanctioned under the OWHA, and there's teams across the province. So we have teams in Ottawa, Kingston, Durham West, Whitby, Oshawa area there, and there's a couple teams in Toronto, and Etobicoke, Mississauga, Brampton. As far down as Windsor and London, they have teams as well. And on a normal circumstance, you'd play a pretty busy schedule. A couple of games over the weekend. You'd do road trips. For us, we'd be doing road trips to the south, and we'd play London on a Friday, and then Windsor and another team on Saturday, Sunday type of thing. Or you go out east and you play Ottawa and Kingston in a weekend, something like that. But so that's kind of the layout of the league. There's provincials, which is, I believe, set up in a tournament format after the league. That remains to be seen if we're going to do that this year. But and then basically, coming out of the league, most players play for 2 years, and then their 18-year-old year they take off and they go to school. From a recruiting standpoint, you'll see a lot of high end players come out of the midget ranks, and they'll have offers from whether it's a Canadian school or an NCAA school before they even touch the PWHL team. And then of course we use the PW platform to fill out the recruitment and make sure that our players get recruited in that way. To speak to our team this year, we have a goalie who's already committed to Merrimack College and I believe in Boston. She's got 2 years with us left, so that's pretty big one for us. And we just had a forward commit to Laurentian, so we've got 2 already, and hopefully we can get each girl that wants to continue to play a spot on a university or a college team.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the rundown there, because I know I didn't really know much about it, but definitely wanted to learn a little bit more. I got to ask you, if you had a dream job within hockey, I mean, I know I kind of touched on it earlier, but is there a specific team you'd want to be the head coach for, or just any kind of job in general?
I don't know if I have a team, or I mean obviously head coach and a pro role of some sort, or even I really like the NCAA. If I got on with the school, I'd be pretty proud of that. And you see a lot of coaches there that get to an NCAA school and they get comfortable, and they stay there for a long time. Look at Boston University. Jackie Parker's been there, and Michigan, who's probably my favorite school. They had Red Berenson for a long time, and those guys get situated and they're happy, and I could see myself in a spot like that. But Canadian guys from Ontario, most of us will say we want to be the coach of the Leafs, but I don't know. It's been a rough ride, and I don't know if I want to be put through the paces of the Toronto media, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll put them on the top of the list. But like I said, if it came to a point where any team came calling, I'd be happy to take the call and in whatever capacity. So.
Yeah, and that's a big one too. There's a lot of pressure when you're the very head of a team versus, you said working in the NCAA, which should be just as good. I think you don't get the media attention and that whole, oh yeah, I work for the Leafs, or oh yeah, I work for an NHL team, but you still get all that experience and you're not pressurized to perform in front of hundreds of thousands of fans.
Yeah, I mean, in any coaching role, I mean, if you lose a game, you're gonna get the headline no matter how it is. I mean, you look at Mike Babcock was here in Toronto to put a local example in there, and every time the Leafs went through a rut, he was at the forefront of is his job safe, and you see that a lot in in the National Hockey League rank, but if for guys that follow local sports, I'm sure it's there as well. And it's one of those things where you just have to kind of push the outside noise away and just stick to your plan, and hopefully it works out.
For sure. And my last question for you would be, what is your best piece of advice for someone trying to make a career in sports overall? You can make it pertain to hockey or just overall in the sports industry.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of touch on it from a hockey perspective, and I'll go generic a little bit as well in terms of all sports. But one
Sure.
thing that is a big thing is explore the resources that are at your disposal. As a coach evaluator, I preach this to all the coaches at Barrie, and I tell them constantly. There's resources out there that most are free. One example I'll use here is there's a webinar set up through the NHL Coaches Association, and you get really high end experienced coaches presenting on specific topics, and I take pride in watching those and learning from those guys, and it's 45 minutes of your day, and the wealth of knowledge that you get from that is humongous. And I'm sure there's webinars like that across the board, even podcasts as well, right? The other big thing too is a lot of guys that get into the industry think that they can go right to a certain level at a certain point right out of the gate, and that's not how it works. So the one thing I'll shorten it is there are no shortcuts, right? I mean, you look at my resume, I started from the very bottom of the coaching ranks in hockey. I started from minor hockey, and I've put in a good amount of time there, and now I've been given an opportunity to go to the next level, and I'm gonna have to put my time in at this level in order to move up again. So definitely not a good idea to be looking at shortcuts or cutting corners. Stay the course, like I said earlier, and build that experience. The other thing I do a lot of, and I'm sure anybody involved in the game will say this point as well, is be proactive. Each year I'm contacting coaches at all levels, and I'm not telling them that I'm looking for a job. I'm telling them that, hey, I'm here. Here's my resume. Here's where I've been. Here's what I've done, and I just want you to know that I'm available, and I want to continue to proceed through the coaching ranks. And whether you're in marketing or sales for a sports team or whatever the case may be, it's always huge to continue to put your name out there, and the people will find you. I'm sure if you're good at it, but if you want them to know who you are, it's best to push your name around. But yeah, those are the three big ones for me: is utilizing what's available to you, putting your name out there, don't be afraid, and stay in the course. It's so important to gain that experience and not try to climb to the top without getting any.
Yeah, 100%. And especially in this pandemic world, it's important to put yourself out there and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Talk to as many people as possible, network wherever you can, because ultimately, with all of us, sitting at home, nobody's going to notice us unless we make that effort to put ourselves out there.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time, right? We got all this free time to, sitting around and not being able to do, certain activities in the evenings or the weekends. It's a really good time to hunker down and find some contacts that, may want to see your information. So yeah, it's definitely a good time to start pushing your name out if you're looking to get into the sport.
And that wraps up this episode of Sports Biz with Rashad. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed, be sure to check us out on Instagram at SportsBiz with Rashad and support us on all other platforms. I'll catch you guys on the next episode.